This chart shows daily commercial ship traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. In early March 2026, the number of vessels passing through this critical waterway plummeted from a steady 138 per day to just 2. Down on the water, the surface is churning with high-alert warships and fast attack craft. Naval mines have reportedly been deployed just beneath the waves, forcing massive commercial vessels to turn around mid-voyage. This single choke point handles 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas, or LNG, which is natural gas cooled to a liquid state for transport, and 25% of all seaborne crude oil. For decades, global markets operated on a rock-solid assumption. Military threats might cause temporary panic, but this specific waterway could never actually be closed to international trade. The vacant shipping lanes signify a breakdown in regional security and the active severing of the global economy's primary energy artery. The Strait of Hormuz bridges the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. Its rugged, mountainous coastlines plunge directly into the sea, creating a natural funnel for all maritime traffic. This map lays out the physical trap. While the waterway is about 30 miles wide at its narrowest point, the deep water transit corridors, safe for massive supertankers, are restricted to 2 lanes, each just 2 miles wide. If a conflict erupts in the Red Sea, cargo ships can take a longer route around the African continent. But the Persian Gulf is a maritime cul-de-sac with no alternative exit. Vessels must enter and exit through this exact same passage to reach the oil terminals in Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. With geography offering no viable detours, the state that dominates this single 21-mile passage exerts a veto over a quarter of the world's seaborne energy flow. During the 1980s Iran-Iraq War, Iraqi President Saddam Hussein deliberately attacked Iranian shipping facilities. His strategy was to terrorize commercial mariners, force a closure of the strait, and trigger international intervention. The ensuing 8-year conflict became known as the Tanker War. Over 450 commercial vessels were hit by Iraqi and Iranian forces, and hundreds of merchant mariners were killed. Vessels sank, the military mined the waters, and war risk insurance premiums spiked to 10% of a ship's whole value. Yet the ships kept sailing. Even amidst active warfare, the sheer financial incentive to keep selling and buying oil outpaced the risk of being targeted. The industry's survival through the 1980s convinced modern markets that the Strait of Hormuz was functionally immune to permanent closure by military force. In the modern era, Iran adapted its strategy. Instead of engaging in open warfare against massive international navies, they turned to asymmetrical harassment. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, relies on swarms of heavily armed, fast attack boats to intimidate, surround, and board commercial tankers. These physical tactics are backed by a legal trap. Iran and Oman expanded their territorial waters to 12 nautical miles, overlapping to cover the entire waterway. Commercial ships rely on transit passage to sail through, but Iran asserts strict domestic control, demanding prior permission. This friction is exactly what allowed Iranian forces to legally justify seizing the Portuguese-flagged container ship MSC Ares in early 2024. Tehran realized that sinking massive tankers was unnecessary. By weaponizing maritime law and deploying unpredictable fast attack swarms, they could effectively dictate who is allowed to move through the waterway. The delicate balance in the region shattered in 2025. Following U.S. and Israeli strikes against Iranian facilities during Operation Midnight Hammer, diplomatic channels collapsed. The definitive breaking point arrived in late February 2026, with the assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Retaliation was swift. The Iranian parliament officially voted to close the strait. Out on the water, the IRGC began broadcasting very high frequency, or VHF, radio. Desperate captains formed a dark fleet. Tankers began turning off their automatic identification system, or AIS, a tracking system that allows ships and ports to electronically monitor vessel locations to sneak through the choke point unnoticed. The United States Navy issued emergency warnings, demanding commercial vessels maintain a 30 nautical mile standoff from American warships to avoid misidentification. Shortly after, President Donald Trump announced the military would begin directly escorting tankers. By combining an official state mandate with unpredictable, heavily armed naval patrols, Iran broke the 40-year assumption of safe passage. Military analysts have debated for decades whether a 21-mile stretch of water can actually be 100% physically sealed off by a navy. But a hermetic, wall-to-wall physical blockade is entirely unnecessary to stop global trade today. This graph illustrates the true mechanism of a modern blockade. When extreme military risk is injected into a specific location, commercial maritime insurance premiums spike to ruinous levels. Shipping companies are naturally forced to halt operations because they can no longer afford the coverage. While alternative terrestrial oil pipelines exist in Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, they completely lack the volume capacity to replace the millions of barrels lost when the ships stop moving. In 2026, the throttling of trade proves the Hormuz tripwire has been triggered, leaving the global economy to face a severed energy supply.